question on the measurement front. What about Nielsen's total audience measurement? Does that help at all?
What?
You're the Nielsen supporter.
So
Nielsen has no role in what addressable television is all about.
And will be.
I can't predict that, but.
But you don't think the total audience, because
This is a complete Rentrak game, or comScore, you know.
Yes.
I don't see Nielsen in this at all.
Don't seem to figure out a way to,
Yeah.
because if we think 3-screen, audience understanding, you know, again,
Maybe.
this total audience measurement concept, it seems that that's what the industry would love to have.
This is a census level game that can't be measured with a panel.
I agree.
This whole idea of assuming 100 million people watch the same as 20,000, ridiculous. Ridiculous. But we do it, and that's why Nielsen will have us, you know, they'll be challenged.
Again, another sorry to keep hitting on Dish and DirecTV, you know, another missed opportunity.
What is?
The data, that they sit on the answer,
Got it.
right? And I just firmly believe in the power of television, and we just need the data to show. So I don't know why we would use a sample.
Yeah, you feel the same way about Nielsen?
I do. I think this space allows for a lot of many other data players to come into play.
So the idea that...
But if it were my data, and I owned it, I would probably sit on it too, and until I figured out the best way to monetize. And I'm just as frustrated with everyone that owns a set-top box that will not let me use the data the way I want to use it. But they all equally have that same disease, and that's sit on it until they can monetize it. And that's just smart business.
Maybe you're not paying them enough money for it.
Probably, perhaps.
Okay, so, I mean, is that the issue? Is the issue at the end of the day that you guys can't align on value?
I
Right?
think we're working it
I
out.
just want to buy more. I don't understand why that. Okay.
Buy more media.
Yeah.
Your point being is I'll spend more dollars with you, give me access to this.
And if it doesn't, you'll shut it off. If it doesn't work for you and it is detrimental to your business, you'll shut it off. You're in ultimate control, right? But to hoard it and not provide it, I feel terrible that I keep saying this, and now just say it louder, like just free the
I
data.
would say that for all of the addressable work that we do on all of the systems, for the most part, I'm getting exactly the data that I need to plan, to measure, to execute.
Yeah.
Hands down. So for the media exchange, the business that we're doing together, I'm getting everything I need. Everything is great. When it comes to, can I use your data to then help optimize media that I'm not purchasing from you, that's when it gets a little bit of a debate. It's just a business issue.
All right, but so in the digital world, the walled gardens that we would think about, I mean, you're describing walled gardens, right? And there's clearly, again, as you said, there's plenty of rationale why if you are the owner of said garden, you're putting some walls around it, right? And again, in the digital world, we typically look at a Facebook or a Google in the same way, right? Do you think about the way that you want access to that data differently than you think about the set-top box data? I mean, we start with you. I mean, it's like that's another robust set of data that is also being limited, but marketers seem to be finding ways to stitch other data sets together to make it work anyway.
We're always find ways to stitch information together and solve to make a campaign come to life. But I think if there were ways that people could really work together, and I think it comes down to business. I think people ultimately, you know, people need to make money. They need to have their niche in the marketplace. And this space is so new right now that there's no way for someone to, I think, feel really on solid ground to make that decision, to say this is what we're going to charge, this is the value of it, and this is how it's going to work. So because the industry is still working, and we're still getting what we need to do business, that's okay for right now.
So let's switch gears. Let's go back. Tracey, you brought up earlier the notion of, I think Tracey, maybe it was you, Mike. Someone brought up the notion of the next, essentially you were bringing up the notion the next round of carriage agreements might be interesting to see who's going to control what inventory. Right, we live in a world today, as you highlighted, that in order to do addressability, that's really the 2 minutes an hour that the operators own versus the rest of the network inventory. There's definitely some conversation, at least a low level of chatter that suggests in the next round of carriage agreements that could change. That there will be either A, more data sharing, or B, some flex into who owns what inventory. Do you guys think that that's at all realistic? Tracey, let me start with you. Do you think that's going to shake out majorly differently? That's not the right way to say that, you know the point.
Yeah, my experience with programmers and operators working together on anything that's, you know, small but important has not gone well. You know, because there's a big price point to be negotiated, around carriage and content, right? So if you try and insert something like addressable and data into the conversation, somebody's going to win and lose. They're going to use it as a negotiation tool. That doesn't mean that the conversations aren't going to start happening, because it does make sense that they should start to happen. The technology exists, and there is value that can be created for the networks. And the operator should be compensated for that value because they deployed the technology and have that expense, right? I just wonder if there's not a better way to go about it, because it is a three-way conversation. And the two-way between the operator and the programmer is very contentious, but the conversation between the agency and the operator is not contentious. We're flowing a lot of money this way. I don't understand why I can't just pay the toll to light up the national, right? So take it out of the affiliate negotiation, I think is a faster way to distribution.
So let's stick with you for a second, then we'll get the rest of you guys' perspective on that too. I think, but with the networks issue would be, again, we're changing units into impressions, right? And in order for the networks, like cable networks, broadcast, whatever, insert, name network here, they don't necessarily want to sell them that way. They'd argue that's not a way for them to make more money, that by the time they slice and dice their units into impressions, probably end up not selling half the impressions because that particular spot doesn't, those impressions aren't desired. Whatever the increase in CPM is, by the time you have the cost to actually put the system together, maybe they're making a few extra points, but now it's not worth it. Why don't I just keep sticking with my unit-based world? Do you have
I wonder how many of those folks actually did that math?
I applaud DirecTV and Dish for coming into the market, and they should call them and understand how much look at their annual report. Look how much value is actually created by addressability. I mean, I do understand what do I do with the waste, and that's a huge market opportunity for entrepreneurs to go after, right? I mean, it's a new form of waste. We have waste in TV. It's called DR. Well, I don't know. I call it DR, right? I mean, there's a clearing mechanism for what's unsold, right?
Programmatic is the other word.
Or programmatic,
let's not do
right?
that. I don't want to add that word. That's what a lot of people would use it as.
And I think that's why I'm excited by the data and becoming more sophisticated, because we're going to buy down the avail as far as we possibly can, right?
Okay. All right. So I want to play this out. So I mean, Amy, do you agree that both in terms of how you think this shakes out, and do you have any I don't know, sympathy, I guess, or empathy to the network's argument that taking a unit and making an impression based is not good for them?
I don't have any sympathy for that, but it comes back to the proof that it's all about business. And everybody talks about change, wanting to do business different. Everyone's embraced this, but it comes down to they have a business model. This is changing the business model, and no one knows how to put that together into what the new puzzle is going to be.
Do you argue with them at all that says more and more viewing is not happening through a set-top box, right? So I suppose this is where the networks feel like they have some staying power that says, well, wait a minute, an increasing amount of my viewing is happening through digital devices without a set-top box in the middle. Why am I going to light up that channel?
They're taking more of a stance of creating their own, sort of what they're calling their mini platform in their walled gardens, if you will. So they're trying to embrace it that way, but it's siloed.
Yeah.
So this is one network, and this is network B, and this is network C. So they're trying to advance the conversation, but they're doing it very much in a safety net and only playing in their own playground.
I actually don't know that the networks are as opposed to this as we think. I don't think we're actually giving them enough credit. I think that they do know that if executed properly, they will make a higher bid. But there's two stumbling blocks, right? One is the legacy culture, right? Many that work at these networks are selling GRPs on broad demos, and breaking that culture is not easy. The other part is this is a moving market. If you're in a buyer's market, right, they're going to be much more willing to open up these new ideas so they can increase the revenue. But if you're in a market like we are today, which kind of skews in their favor, they're not going to be in as much of a rush to change things when they're hitting their numbers, making their goals.
Yeah, sure, but to that point, listen, I've done enough work with enough of these networks and having, thought through for many of them how they think about this world. And I can't speak for anywhere near all of them, but I know enough of them that say, no, this is a conscious choice of how to move and not move the market, right? And sure, there's some legacy issues and just some legacy thinking that probably is creating pause as well. But there's another level that says, now we've thought through this, and yes, we agree, there's a VIG. We will have a higher CPM, but we also agree we have to recreate a whole system that in order to get that VIG, which doesn't necessarily seem to be huge, our infrastructure play that we have to do that, again, to change units into impressions is not minor.
Right, but it also was nice for me to travel across the country on a railroad as opposed to a horse. Make things easier, make things quicker, everybody was happy. So they have to, yeah, the horse took forever.
I get it.
Railroad, 3 days. But that's, they're in no rush to break that legacy.
Yeah, okay, but so you said because we're in a seller's market, but so at some level this comes back to being content is king, right? Aren't we kind of there, right? Because at some level, the content that you guys all want to get in front of is only available in certain spots. Rights seem to be really matter. Live television and sports clearly is still crushing it. So, I mean, is the seller's market is that true for the networks because they are selling in a 3-screen way, right? My thoughts would certainly be, and not in the middle of the upfront negotiations, but that if we looked at the total dollars of a lot of the upfront deals, more and more a higher percentage of those dollars are going to be digital distribution points, not traditional television. And the reality is you guys on the buy side want to sponsor that content, and so, you know, there's only so much of that content you can get at. I mean, isn't it true that it is a seller's market, but is that actually changing?
So it changes up and down every year, but what you said is true. So more and more of the actual television spend is going to these fluidity deals, which is that content owners programming on all these other screens, and that's working well. Television is still the only market I've ever seen where the audience goes down, they raise the prices, and everybody stands in line with the checkbook. So they have that going for them. As long as that,
Are you suggesting that people are doing that, marketers are doing that to their, like without reason or without smarts, or that there's
I'm saying
rationale?
that very seldomly do you see marketers say, you know what, I'm not paying a 20% increase for this. Goodbye, I'll spend my money elsewhere. You see it in certain cases.
Sure.
The networks do have that security that they're going to get those dollars, and that definitely contributes to their decisions to hold back some of what we're calling innovative ideas that they're calling costly innovation.
The higher the CPM, the more room there is for addressable. The higher the traditional CPM is, the better the eCPM is. So I hear up, and I'm like, cool, we got more headroom for addressable.
Interesting.
That's true.
Okay. What do you think? Maybe what do you think of that as well?
I do. But it kind of goes back to the fact of trying to create the systems and the quickness and timing of the marketplace in order to show the value of these different opportunities for clients to get the money to come through. I think by the time we get through the education, the discussion, the difference between eCPM and GRPs, sometimes you've lost your window, and especially if it's someone that really is dying to get their money on, or it's the upfront trying to be here's an alternative here. So I think we'll totally get there, but I think we're still caught right now.
It's important to just keep in mind that while there's all these complexities, there's all these visions and aspirations to move it forward, the stuff is working now, we're doing business now. It might be mechanical, it's not automated, it's laborious, but so it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of work, but it is happening, it is getting done, and the results are there.